Originally written in the Luo language, then translated to English, Okot Biket's Song of Lawino was published in 1996. It is considered to be one of the greatest pieces of African poetry of all time. It's a poetic classic of Ugandan literature that tackles the themes of African identity, colonialism, racism, jealousy, polygamy, resentment, rivalry, perception, and of course, the clash between traditional and modern Western cultures. The poem is set in Uganda between a traditionally married couple, Lawino and Ocol. Lawino is a traditional Acoli woman who embodies everything about the culture, from her physique to the way she thinks. Lawino is practically a walking embodiment of Acoli tradition, from a round, well-fed physique to her colorful traditional dresses she wears, to her deep knowledge of Acoli customs and legends. One of the powerful ways Lawino expresses a connection to tradition is through her consistent references to actual Acoli proverbs, idioms, and sayings that are brilliantly used to get her points across in the song. However, Lawino is at odds with her husband, Ocol, who has lost respect for her, her family, and the Acoli tribe in general. He becomes enamored with Western education and now believes the African culture is inferior. He now regards his wife as dirty, superstitious, and ignorant, and launches words towards her that are made of knives. She even considers the disrespectful way he speaks to her as being as bitter as the Lawino lily, a native water plant with very bitter roots in Uganda. Lawino laments this attitude and mourns the loss of their culture, the erosion of traditional values, and Ocol's loss of respect for African women. At the beginning of the song, Ocol's infatuation with Western culture and his disregard for African customs is already apparent. Lawino addresses this immediately, how he has changed in a negative way and no longer appreciates her and his traditional norms that are expected of him as a man. In her eyes, her husband has lost his traditional masculinity because of his Western education. Something she mockingly argues that Ocol's books have, quote, smashed his testicles. Ocol does a number of things that angrily upset Lawino and heavily violate sacred Acoli traditions. For example, such as insulting traditional Acoli customs and dresses he used to love. He tries to pressure his wife Lawino into adopting Western habits, such as wearing Western-style clothes, having British mannerisms, and bending her hairstyle to be more Eurocentric. Ocol also now refuses to perform traditional Acoli rituals and ceremonies, such as bringing gifts to Lawino's family after their marriage. Lawino calls out her husband on this, and she says, "You have lost your way. You are like a ship without a rudder." Lawino directly confronts Ocol's demeaning ways in the song. She admits to herself that she might not have had formal education like Ocol, but she's too as sharp as a knife and has high level of awareness of her environment and critical reasoning needed for it. Wisdom which comes from her Acoli traditional teachings. She has an awareness of the Bible, though she doesn't care for it, to know when its scriptures are not being used fairly. She observes that Ocol is misinterpreting or ignoring the true teachings of the Bible, which emphasizes kindness and respect for others. You have learned the Bible, but you don't understand a word of it. You are like a person who has read a book upside down, as she calls out Ocol's hypocrisy because of how disrespectful he is towards her and her family. To add insult to injury, there comes Clementine, who comes to the story in the second chapter titled "The Woman Who I Share My Husband With," who has a significant impact on Lawino and Ocol's marriage. Clementine is introduced as Ocol's mistress, who has taken on as a possible wife, and now Lawino has to compete with her for her husband's affection. Clementine looks, speaks, and acts like a white woman. Lawino looks at Clementine's presence in her household as a symbol of the invasive colonial Western values. She wears deep makeup and long nails that are perceived by Acoli tradition as a sign of laziness, which is true. She is more like a trophy wife, a Western status symbol, and not a housewife who holds the home together like Lawino does. Lawino views her as a threat to the marriage and a symbol to the loss of traditional Acoli values because she disposes many feminine cultural norms that are sacred to the Acoli, yet Ocol still accepts her as a possible wife to Lawino's outrage. She finds it puzzling that Ocol finds Western culture more appealing than the Acoli culture. African tradition, when she recites mockingly, "You are like a person who eats the skin and throws away the meat." She admits she doesn't fully understand the dances of the whites in the 3rd chapter, but unlike Clementine, doesn't really care to know about it either. She even goes as far as comparing them white dancers to moving like a poisoned fish about to die. Lawino then turns her attention to how she perceives her own traditional culture of Acoli that her husband Ocol shuns. She loves and takes pride in the traditional courtship dances, such as the La Caraca dance, where the community comes together as a vibrant, loud, and joyful community in which she becomes the daughter of a bull and surrounded by strong African men who resemble a proud lion. Lawino is a force to be reckoned with when she starts extolling the virtues of Acoli culture. She sings with pride that her eyes sparkle like fireflies. She appreciates her community that "my people are like a mighty river, flowing and spreading in all directions," in which she uses this line to emphasize the strength and resilience of the Acoli people and compares these social structures to tall tree with deep roots that can never be uprooted, in a line that beautifully expresses the idea that Acoli culture is deeply rooted and will never die, both in general and in heart, regardless of how Ocol acts. Even though Ocol criticizes her appearance, she sees her natural hair style as beautiful. She sees herself as a graceful giraffe that cannot become a monkey in chapter 5. Meaning she will not reduce her standards by chasing European standards when she's already beautiful, happy, intelligent, valuable, and fulfilled to begin with. She rejects Ocol's scorns and asserts that traditional Acoli culture and values will survive despite attempts to replace them with the Western ideals. She advises him that a leopard cannot change into a hyena, and Ocol is already great as he is an African, a powerful and moving conclusion that celebrates our African identity and pride.
If you want to see more doodle summaries of classic African books like this, please let us know any books we can do by sharing your comments and ideas below. You can also contact this number +26378220767 or +263712150 to be entered in our new literature group club for more enlightening material about African literature, old and new, for your college studies. So if you loved watching MEMC Africa and want to see more, please do not hesitate to press like and subscribe. So until we meet next time, thanks for watching MEMC Doodle Summaries. Thank you.